Another reason
to
have
collect plants.
To collect plants.
To collect plants.
Collect them.
Welcome to the Growing Joy with Plants podcast, where we not only learn how to care for plants successfully, but how to simply and affordably use our plant babies to cultivate more joy in our lives by doing so. I'm Maria, former plant killer turned happy plant lady, author of Growing Joy, the Plant Lover's Guide to Cultivating Happiness, speaker, podcaster, and most importantly, your new best plant friend. On Growing Joy with Plants, you'll find conversations about houseplant care, gardening tutorials, and wellness through the lens of plants. Plant care is self-care on Growing Joy. Hello, plant friends. If you're new here, I'm Maria. I am here to help you care for plants and grow joy while doing so. And if you're a repeat guest, boy, oh boy, we have a very fun episode for you, a little different than what we normally do on the Growing Joy with Plants podcast. I would say probably 99% of my content is purely educational, where I'm either interviewing experts on plant care and self-care, or I'm giving solo tutorials. But today we're having a little fun. Today's about fun and maybe even taking the censor off. It is Growing Joy After Dark, a real conversation with real plant friends about our relationships, the plant community, all sorts of stuff. Let me know if you like this style of episode. I'm so honored to be joined by my dear friends, Agatha Isabel. She's Agatha Isabel on Instagram, and Kamili Bell Hill, who is Plant Blurred on Instagram. I've known them for so many years. And we literally got invited to this event at New York Botanical Garden and decided to have a sleepover at Kamili's house. She lives close to NYBG, and do this fun little collaboration. So I hope you feel like you're at the table with us, drinking cocktails. Kamili made us delicious blue cocktails. I hope you feel seen and that this episode makes you giggle and obviously brings you joy. So without further ado, here is Growing Joy After Dark with Kamili and Agatha. We're all strangers who met on the internet, but that is the beauty of plants. And I feel like, do you guys have other stories about plant friendships?
Here's the crazy part. So one of my now in real life plant friends is Nia from the Bloom Journey.
I don't remember what number her episode was, but we did an episode together.
Yes. So Nia during COVID reached out, and she had these affirmation cards, and she wanted to do a reel with a group of us. So she reached out to me, and then simultaneously my sister-in-law reached out and was like, oh, I have a longtime friend. Her daughter's also online on Instagram. She wasn't calling it like plantfluencer. She didn't have a word for it, but she was like, she's into plants too. It was
it Nia?
Nia.
Oh, wow.
So my husband, his dad was a plumber, electrician, heating guy. He worked at Nia's mom's house, and Nia's mom and my sister-in-law worked together years ago.
Whoa.
So it's like
That's
6
spooky.
degrees of separation. Isn't that crazy?
That's spooky.
That's wild.
You're destined to be friends.
Yes, we were destined to be friends. Yes. So just wild.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
And hopefully we'll get to see Nia tomorrow when we go to Agatha's book launch at New York Botanical Garden. What's a crazy plant friend story that you have?
I just remember that I think we did like a Greenpoint
Plant shop crawl. And we started at this backyard of one of my favorite places, at the brunch place. Oh yeah, we had brunch first.
Was it like Milk and Honey?
I got a caterpillar in my pants.
We need to bring those back.
There were so many caterpillars there.
Caterpillars. I was terrified. They were falling out of the freaking
in my pants.
Yeah, and then they went into her undergarments.
Yeah, it was horrible.
That's gross.
It was the worst day of my life. No, it was a wonderful day.
They were literally falling, and I was like,
where were they falling from?
The trees. I think that it was a backyard that had a tree that caterpillars must have been known to.
There were multiple mulberry.
They were like falling onto us.
And there were
only in New York City. Yeah.
It's like, as much as I love plants, I am not about that bug life.
And also, you were with your friend, we would get together like maybe once a quarter, but these were not, we were all good plant friends, but I think I was trying to be cool in front of you girls. Like, I couldn't have a full freak out about a caterpillar being in my pants.
Well,
But I think I did make
that warrants a freak out.
Having a freak out.
That warrants a freak out. A
Yeah,
caterpillar
they were all
in your
like
pants.
fuzzy looking, and I was like, these look like the ones that I'm allergic to, and I'm again, same. Like, love nature.
Immediately no.
But allergic to everything also in nature. So it's like
exactly.
Yeah, but we like walked around Greenpoint and went to all the plant shops, did plant shopping. It was really nice.
Ugh. Man, that
That's
was
fantastic.
The OG
what year
days.
Was
that was like 2017.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pre-COVID.
2017?
2017 or 2018.
Everything is divided for me now in AC after COVID and BC.
Yeah, 100%.
And after AC, I just cannot even remember.
Yeah.
It's
it was
all
a different life.
blur.
I mean, I had personally a completely different life, like a different profession, a different everything. But okay, so I like to say we're in the like OG heat of influencers, plant people that are online. What has your collection looked like over the time? When did you get into plants, and what has your collection looked like? Like, what are the different seasons that have iterated before COVID? You know.
So I actually, and this sounds really crazy, but I was like, why bring plants inside? Like, I was so confused. Like, I grew up in LA.
Oh,
families.
There she goes bragging again.
There she goes again.
I grew up
Jesus
in
avocado tree in her backyard.
I grew up in the Philippines. Like,
yes,
whatever.
We did not.
All I'm saying,
we're all our
we
plants
grew
are
up
native.
in cold winters.
No, it's cold. It's 65 degrees and I'm freezing. But I remember being like, why bring like plants inside? And then I moved out east. I was in DC and then moved to New York. And I remember a friend of mine who you guys will meet tomorrow, Tiffany, she was like, oh, maybe we should bring plants inside. And I was like, inside our office, because we worked in this like beautiful, it was in near the Flatiron building. We had a beautiful corner office where it was just blasting full of light. And I was like, why don't we just do like a plant decorating thing, blah, blah, blah. Because we were really close to 28th Street in New York.
The wholesale flower district.
Yeah, so I was like, why don't we just bring some plants in? And she was like, I think we can propagate succulents. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, I think if you like, I think I read somewhere that if you break off the leaves or something and you like do something to it, it'll like grow into a new plant. I was like, what are you talking about? And then literally this is before we had met, maybe like 2015, 2016. And I'm just like, what the F are you talking about? But also, why are you bringing plants inside?
And your whole world opened up.
Then I was like, but this is New York. And I was like, it's cold.
It's cold.
I'm in my 20s. I don't make money. I work in advertising. Everyone else makes money. But it's like, I want to like bring the nature back home. And I wasn't flying to LA because I couldn't afford it. And so I was like, let me just bring plants indoors.
Yes.
And that's how it had started. And then I
remember. Plants inside is a game
changer. Plants inside is a game changer. ASMR. Listen to us. Plants inside. Your turn to sing. Sing plants inside. I'm not as good, but just do it anyways. And then you do it after.
No, we do plants. No, we do ASMR.
ASMR plants inside. Plants inside.
What are we doing?
Plants inside.
This is unhinged.
This is the most unhinged episode of I'm getting canceled after
plants
this episode.
Inside. Caterpillars in your pants.
Oh my God. Okay, so that's when you started.
That's how it started. And I think, Marie, I think we met maybe like that year later. Because
you already knew your way around a plant.
I knew
and
like
I didn't.
plants, but it wasn't even that. It's like I just knew like the basic things of like things that grow, you water, you whatever.
Right, exactly.
It was a whole different thing, obviously, on the East Coast, because a lot of people don't realize that all of these plants that we're bringing into our homes are all tropical.
Outdoor plants. I love when people are like, oh, but that's not a house plant. I'm like, literally nothing is.
Yeah.
They're all outdoor.
They're all outdoor plants. Yeah.
I connected with that because I was like this. I used to call myself like a little tropical girl. I was like, if it was if it was not 75 to 85 degrees, I was having a hard time. I moved to the East Coast.
That is so, when it hits 50, I'm like, woohoo.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Springtime.
Yeah.
But that's also why I appreciated it, because these things that weren't meant to thrive were thriving. Exactly. Right. And that's what, like, that's part of why we love it. But that was around the same time. I think I met you at the first time through a friend, and I was like, and she was like, oh, these are all plantfluencers. And I was like, what are you talking? I was like, what are these
Was that
words?
word for real though in 2017? When did plantfluencer
No, I feel
come
like
about?
plantfluencer hit us in like 2019.
Or maybe 2020.
I know that.
Maybe
Do you think, was it COVID?
I attribute it to
She's the OG.
Yeah, she's the OG.
And I remember our mutual friend Megan was like, oh, Summer's having this plant swap.
Yes.
And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like,
what is that
you
thing?
bring plants and then you trade. And I was like, what do you mean?
You're like,
you
that
bring?
sounds so
I was
intense.
like, what are you guys? And I was like, I have social anxiety. I ain't going near any of these crazy people bringing their plants and swapping them. Like, what do you mean? And it was just like so insane.
It was crazy. Those plant swaps were insane. Did you ever go to them?
Oh my God. Yeah, I never went to any of Summer's.
Okay.
But if it like plant swap, it's immediately yes. And I am a gregarious, friendly introvert.
I actually think a lot of plant people are introverts.
I literally am. I am. But, have plant swap, I will follow. Like I'm there. If it's plants involved, because it just feels like your tribe, like it really does. But
it's your people.
But the stakes are high. Like people will get really intense at plant swaps. I feel
very
like if
intense.
they have a rare plant, they're not going to trade it for just anything.
I've seen people be like, no, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that is not the spirit
and I think
of the plant community.
The wrong attitude. And I've also seen people come in with, a golden pothos and they're trying to trade for an elbow. Like they're trying to level up.
You know what they come in with? They come in with a little donkey's tails that fell off. And I was like, these can grow into plants one day.
Right. It's
You're
like, come on. I don't necessarily believe that they need to be equally yoked, but I don't think that your motivation should be, I'm coming to level up.
Yeah.
Well, I think too,
going with open hearts and minds.
With open hearts and minds. Well, I think there's a difference, and obviously this is growing joy. We keep this positive, but I think too, those like original plant swaps in 2017 and 2018, the stakes were high, but it really was community based. It really was about finding your friends. I think in COVID, all of a sudden rare plants, like the rare plant boom, people were stealing plants. They were spending crazy amounts of money on plants.
During COVID
and
that
there was a shift there.
Yeah, like a real underbelly was revealed.
Summer Rain did an incredible podcast on plant crimes. Did you guys see the release of that? It was really good.
I remember being
I remember that one guy.
She did a mini series about it.
Remember he stole all those plants from a botanical garden?
That was where I live now. So that was in LA. And I remember being like, how dare you?
Yeah.
And I just kind of like, and I'm the kind of person when I go to a plant swap, I'm like, I'm going to actually get rid of plants and not feel guilty
that's
about
what
them.
Right, exactly.
And if
it's
I
like,
happen
here,
to get
take it.
something really nice, like that's such a win. And to like go to not only a place where everyone goes to for joy and happiness.
Right.
And let me tell you, when you are on the East Coast and it's cold AF, and all you guys, the Brooklyn Botanical Garden, to pretend like you're in Puerto Rico or like in the Philippines or like the New York Botanical Garden, the amazing like observatory, you want to just appreciate it. And the fact that people are not only taking away from that, like I can't.
Yeah. I will say though, at one of those Summer Rain plant swaps, I remember it was when I had first got into plants and I got my first Monstera and it was like a juvenile Monstera. There were no fenestrations, but I remember seeing the plant from across the room and it like took my breath away. I wanted a Monstera so bad and I didn't want to spend the, money on it. And I got it. And like every single leaf that opened up was like, is this going to be the fenestrated one? Is this going to be the fenestrated one? And Alessia, one of our OG plant friends, was like, this is how you propagate it. You got to cut it off. And so it gets bushy. And I don't know. I do still feel like plant swaps are wonderful.
They are phenomenal. I still love plant swaps.
Totally.
Because they're just fun just to be, even if like you're going home empty handed and there's no.
You brought joy to someone else.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. And it's just fun to be around other like plant loving people.
The summer brings tons of opportunities to give gifts, whether it's for weddings, graduations, showers, anniversaries, holidays, and what better gift to give someone you love than a personalized Wind River Wind Chime. Plus, you don't need to leave your house to shop for one. Wind River Chimes will deliver the most magical, most thoughtful, and personalized gift straight to the door of your beloveds, because when you use the code GROWINGJOY at checkout, you get a free engraving on any engravable wind chime, so you can personalize it for your loved one with a special saying, a memorable date, or a name. For over 35 years, Wind River Chimes has been passionately pursuing harmony by delivering wind chimes that help create a peaceful, soothing, and restful environment. And now that we are in the swing of gardening season, enjoy the perfect gardening weather with the perfectly calming and inspiring sound of Wind River Chimes. Every night in the summer, I sit on my balcony garden with a drink, just listening to the chimes in the wind, looking at the stars. It's a freaking dream, and it makes an amazing gift for yourself or for someone else. So all you have to do is to go to windriverchimes.com and use code GROWINGJOY at checkout to get a free engraving on any engravable wind chime. They have options of colors and sounds. You can just go on the website and click through and listen to all the beautiful sounds. It's so relaxing. Get it engraved with that personalized name or anniversary date or special message. Head to windriverchimes.com to listen to all of the melodious options and use code GROWINGJOY for a free engraving. On an episode about houseplants, we have to talk about the company whose potting mixes I have been exclusively using for like 5 to 6 years, Espoma Organic. If you don't know, Espoma is a 4th-generation family-owned and operated company dedicated to making safe indoor and outdoor gardening products for people, pets, and the planet. Planting your plants in high-quality potting mix is a massive key for success, because your plants need aeration, nutrients, and solid anchoring in order to grow big and strong. And that's why Espoma's lines of potting mixes is so good. So for the houseplants, I use their general potting mix. I will add their orchid mix to potting mix if it needs to be a very airy mix for epiphytic plants. They also have special mixes for African violets, for cacti. They even have a bonsai mix. I also love their liquid houseplant fertilizer. It makes fertilizing your houseplants so simple. You literally it's liquid fertilizer. You pour it in your watering can and water your plants, and it really simplifies the act of fertilizing, which can be overwhelming for people. Plus, Espoma Organic, the family-run company, has a commitment to the earth with 100% solar-powered plant and bio-preferred packaging. To learn more about all of the different indoor and outdoor products Espoma has to offer you, you can go to espoma.com and see where your local Espoma dealers are, or you can click the link in the show notes to go to my curated Espoma Amazon storefront.
To your original question, my collection has changed. Like when I first started, I was all about the little babies.
Me too.
I wanted to see them grow.
Yes.
And I'm like,
not anymore.
Now I got that big leaf energy. I want the big plants.
Big leaf energy. I love that.
Big leaf energy. And I also, in all this growing, I've learned that when you get those big plants, they're just more established and they're more likely to easily acclimate. I don't live in California. You know, I live in dry New York. And a plant that has already been growing in a pot in a controlled environment it's big and mature for a few years, is going to have a better chance here in my house.
100% agree with you. I've made a complete 180 on that.
I feel like the thing about New York is you anticipate that you need to give them more love. A better environment for them. So I feel like once you establish your ritual, which I feel like, you know, I lived on the East Coast for 10 years. So I just knew like once it started shifting, my skin was getting drier. Those humidifiers are coming out.
Yeah.
Those like bottom pebble trays, they're coming out. Those like water, any types of like just even like random buckets of water. That sounds like really random and weird, but like just literally having a cup of water next to other things like will help it so much. And I actually think my difference, or the thing that I've experienced with being now on the West Coast, is if something makes me upset, I'm stressed about it, and I'm like, this plant isn't doing well, I just yeet it outside. I forget about it. I come back to it 3 months later, and it's like a full,
and it's thriving.
Full beast. And that's the one thing that I love is there's a little emergency room, and
it's called nature. Yeah.
It's called the outside.
No, it's literally called the outside world where it came from. But I will say that when I first started, so I went through a really weird phase. And I actually the other day was talking to someone about this when I was rewatching a apartment tour that Summer had done. All of my plants, I went through a phase where I only did all monsteras, all hoyas, all philodendrons. I went back and forth. And
you've always been a major Hoya girl.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason was I felt like if I could get one family down, I could move on to the next one.
I love that.
And then eventually I found out about like hoyas and how they're the plants of my people, which actually I'm a little bit embarrassed about. I like got into houseplant collecting and I would go back to LA and my grandma would be like, oh, what plants are you like collecting now? Blah, blah, blah. And I'd tell her about my philodendrons, my monsteras. And she was like, why don't you have any hoyas? And she was like, I was like, what do you mean? She was like, why don't you have any hoyas? Those are the hoyas are the plants of our people. And that's where I get it from, like that phase. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, they're all endemic to the Philippines or to Southeast Asia. But that's when I went through this like whole like rebirth. And now I'm like, and I think that's my long-winded answer to your question is I came into it as a wellness. I miss LA. I miss like vacationing. I'm on the East Coast. It's cold.
New York. Yeah.
And then I transitioned into I want to have the things that wouldn't thrive in nature. So the things that are variegated because I know they're not going to be poached. We were talking about this. There was like a dark side to plant collecting where everyone was just importing. And it's like, if you love nature and you love plants, your hobby shouldn't be hurting the very earth that it grows from. And so then that's when I like pivoted. And I'm not perfect. I'm not saying that I am because I definitely have imported. I've done that in the past. But I was like, oh, wow, like this is so interesting.
I do think plants are a gateway. When you start connecting to plants, you start caring more about the earth. You start caring more about that kind of stuff. Like I think your eyes might have been closed to that until you got into plants and you started realizing.
Very aware.
And and I highly suggest Summer Rain Oaks' podcast miniseries. It's a true crime miniseries called Bad Seeds, all about plant poaching.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take a listen.
So what is I'm curious, since you're the Hoya girl and they are the plant of your people, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite species?
Right now, I go back and forth. I think you guys have seen this. I go between what I can propagate that has an easy node versus a difficult node. My favorite species. I mean, I'll say that I still really love anything epiphytic. And I know that's not a specific species, but the fact that something can thrive, honestly, without dirt.
Yeah.
Just
so cool.
take things from nothing and grow and thrive. Not that I'm getting emotional and I feel that way, but I'm like, if that can grow like that, then like we could do anything. So that's not a good answer to your question, but I love epiphytic things that can just adapt, grow, climb, keep going. I'm going to stick with anything that is epiphytic in the tropical sense. So maybe the epipremnums. I know that we
epipremnums. Take a shot and try and say that word. Or Scindapsus. That's another one. I feel like.
I love them too. Yeah.
No, but also for pronunciation.
Let's just go to Borneo. I really want to go to Borneo.
That could be another book for you, I think, is like plants and where they're actually from. I feel like you'd be very good at writing that book.
Don't give it away now.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, Kamili, what about you? What's your favorite plant these days?
My favorite plant these days.
P.S. We're in your beautiful home. You have an incredible plant collection. You have a beautiful house.
That I don't count.
You're a wonderful hostess. You do not. Yes.
Don't count.
I asked you offline how many
plausible deniability, baby. And it's all about the circle of life. I've given part of my journey is also releasing myself to that unrealistic level of being perfect.
I agree.
Plants are not perfect in nature. In nature, plants have crusty edges. They have rips, tears, yellowed leaves, splits. My bird of paradise, it's gorgeous. The leaves are split. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. So I definitely will go around and collect them, but I don't even see them. I don't.
People are like, how do I get rid of pests? I'm like, you can't. It's a literal part of life.
When I first started collecting, it absolutely would. I would not, oh my God forbid, any leaf should yellow, any leaf should crisp. Like I was immediately there with the scissors. Now I'm like, I'll get to it,
Well, that's the thing about, I think, growing through Plant Parenthood too, is the different seasons you go through, even just with your care. People have seasons where their plants are thriving. People have seasons where your plants are hanging on by a thread. Then you go back into it, It's so cyclical.
And one thing for certain that I've learned, like unequivocally, less is more.
Yeah.
We don't have to do all of the things. Like these plants are.
Especially once you have this many plants, girl, you can't do anything.
You can't do all of the things. No. And they're so much more like resilient than
But that's how they get better
realize.
Because they're like, you're like, oh, this is going to die. And you come back and you're like, it's a freaking thriving.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your Calathea orbifolia that's right behind me while we're podcasting, because I have a Calathea that
she's a thirsty bee, and I don't know how
she's thirsty. And I looked at Kamili. She has this gorgeous Calathea orbifolia in her living room, no humidifier.
Behind you. I'm gonna take a photo.
So happy.
So can we talk about humidifier? We're going to finish talking about orbifolias. Then I want to get back to humidifiers.
Yes. But I think it's very interesting that I've had so much stress around my orbifolia and it didn't do well. And now I have it under glass and I've been like checking it every day. And you're like, no, the roots have grown through the bottom of the pot. They're sitting in water.
They're sitting in water.
So should I just be neglecting this?
You should be neglecting it. Like it should be I mind my business with that plant. And look how far away from the window it is. They also need
so far from the window.
Much less light than we. I think that our inclination, you see this highly variegated plant with a very patterned leaf.
Yeah.
You immediately just assume, okay, to maintain that look, I need to give it all of the light. Even when you go to the botanical gardens, like they have the calatheas.
They're
underneath other plants.
They're a crawler.
And they're crawlers.
They're on the bottom of the rainforest.
In nature, they're on the floor of the rainforest.
And that's how they're getting their humidity because the water is staying stagnant on leaves.
So it's like less is more. If I had $1 for every person that slides up in my comments, my DMs, my mentions, to tell me that pebble trays don't work, to use a humidifier, it's like, every environment is different.
Yeah.
I have 10-foot high ceilings.
Yep.
And more importantly, I have plaster walls.
Yep.
Like not sheetrock, plaster, which is absorbent. I will F my house up if I ran humidifiers like that. The walls would literally crumble.
And your paint would peel.
Right. And it's like, so for some, a humidifier is just not going to do the trick. Like it's not going to, and initially I did try. I had all of the humidifiers. They were running constantly, and it would not raise my room humidity.
Well, you have such
over
high
35%.
Ceilings. Yeah,
so it's like,
not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
And you have radiators.
And I have radiators, so you have to find an alternative that works for you. You can follow all of the experts, and I'm using air quotes here, online. You can read all of the books, but at the end of the day, you have to find what works for you. And if it works, do it.
Yeah.
Even if there's something out there that says that it doesn't work, don't do it that way.
Trial and error.
If it's working for
you,
you do it.
I get a lot of DMs about plant troubleshooting questions. And when it comes to troubleshooting with plants, so many times the answer is your plant needs more light. We really misunderstand light often as houseplant parents, especially if you're a beginner. And if you want happy plants, you need lots of light to make them happy because plants eat light. They use light to make their food. And this is why you might consider using Soltech. Soltech grow lights like the Aspect, the Vita, the Grove, and the Highland are designed to provide the perfect spectrum of light that mimics natural sunlight, ensuring your plants grow strong and healthy. I have all of these lights in my home. I've been using Soltech for years and years and years, and it's why I can have so many plants in my home that doesn't have so much light. What sets Soltech apart is the warm color temperature, so their lights look like totally normal lights. If someone walked into your house, you would not know it was a grow light. It would just look like a really sleek, cozy lamp in your house. They have different models which allow you to illuminate your home no matter what your setup is, from the hanging pendant Aspect light, which is my favorite, to the Grove Grow Bar, which is in my bookshelf, to the Vita Grow Bulb, which you can literally screw into any desk or floor lamp. And they have exceptional customer service and an extensive warranty. So treat yourself to the best light available for your houseplants and get 15% off with the code BLOOM15 at checkout. So you can head over to soltech.com and use the code BLOOM15 for 15% off at checkout. Experience the Soltech difference at soltech.com and use code BLOOM15 for a 15% discount. For me, because I've been a renter and I've lived in 2 homes now that have lofts, so I have 40-foot, like huge ceilings.
Right. So it's what humidifier is going to do? Anything.
So I just have decided I just have plants that are hardy. Like I just have plants that don't need it.
Exactly.
And then I have my more precious plants in my office where I do have a humidifier, or I have 50 plants in my office. So they just like figure it out.
Counted them?
Or I did recently count my plants because I had 160 plants at my largest in 500 square feet. And then I reduced my plants when I moved. And then I killed a lot of plants last year. But then this year I've grown my collection again. So I was like, I'm kind of curious to see how many. And I think I have like 85 or something, a healthy amount.
Right.
But it was more fun for me because I feel like I went down because I was struggling mentally. And so I killed a lot of plants.
Less is more. Again, less is more.
And right. And
you know, like you don't have to have all of the plants. Have the ones that really like
light you up. But now I'm having so much fun adding to my collection again. And trying new things.
I was really impulsive in the beginning. Like if I saw a plant, I bought a plant. And to some degree, I still do that a little bit. But when it's like my favorite, like if I see a Hoya, I'm not leaving that Hoya behind. There will be no Hoya left behind.
No Hoya left behind.
No.
But generally speaking, like I'm not as impulsive because I like what I like. And I also know like there is a such thing as too many plants. When it becomes overwhelming and stressful,
when it's
then you have too many plants.
Plant care, self-care.
Exactly.
Yeah. When it's like plant care is stress, your hair is falling out.
Then you have too many. Like number aside, that could be 5 or 500. Whatever that number is for you, if it starts to be no longer a point of peace, then it's too much.
Yeah.
And it's okay to scale it back.
I have a whole chapter in my book on the dark side of plant care because plants can be very stressful.
Yes.
I actually had my mom one day. She was like, what's going to happen when you wake up and you no longer love them? And I was like, what?
That's a dark question,
I
Mom.
know. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, what if you just don't want them anymore? And I was like, that would be me literally being like, I don't live the earth.
Yeah.
And where I'm from. I have a similar dark thought where I'm like, what if I do pass away and there's like, so I live in a 3-bedroom right now, 2-bath house. And because of my accident, I couldn't walk upstairs. So all the plants are mostly downstairs with the exception of my office. And there's 500 plants in there, easy. And then I set up a greenhouse in the back. I don't know what's in there.
Right.
But I'm like, what if I pass away and no one knows the significance? And I'm like, but also that's it. That's what's wrong with it. A plant is a plant. Who cares if you think it's rare or not? Like that's BS. And you know what? I had to check myself because I was like, if you want to walk in there, literally the will say, everyone just take turns, taking one at a time, growing it, taking it with you, let it live. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
Do you ever go on vacation and think that when you come back, all your plants are going to be dead? That's
no,
like a deep fear of mine.
Okay, I'm okay with it.
I remember like if I was going away even for a week, I'd set all the things up. But now I'm like, they're going to be all right. These plants have gone weeks and not been watered.
Right.
I'm not worried until I get past like that 3-week mark. But when am I ever going on vacation for more than 3 weeks?
I traveled for work for 9 months straight.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Then I would worry.
I think
I remember that.
Yeah. I just was like, they were flying me all over the place. And I just was like, if it can't live up to the needs of what I need it to be, and if it dies, I'm putting a new plant in there.
Yeah.
But you know what? I went in there and they all I don't know what.
But someone was in there watering, right? They didn't go. You don't mean that you didn't do anything for 9 months?
I would have. So I did have someone that would watch my cat at the time, Cosmo, and then also water the plants. But you know what I started doing, and this is what I eventually just did over time, is when I would come back, because initially it wasn't that 9 months straight. It was like a week and then 2 weeks and then 3 weeks. Every time I looked at something and it looked a little bit like it wasn't up to par, I'd be like, you going in Leca? Are you going into my hydro? Or you going in? And eventually that's actually the best way that I made it the most low maintenance is over time I would just like phase it out. And I like remember at that apartment, I would come back after 2-3 weeks, even the dead of winter. And because I would like literally leave buckets of water out or have the humidifiers on like a timer. It was like actually not that bad.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And you think about it and you're like, no, these things are so resilient. And I think about
They really are.
Where it's like the plant outside in the crack versus
the maiden-hair fern.
And that's why I love Hoyas. Because Hoyas are like
they're
this
so resilient.
Plant that they're like, they're pretty, blah, blah. You go out there and wherever they are in Southeast Asia, they are literally in cracks. There's no soil nearby. They're like up in here. They're like similar with like Scindapsus when they're like just attaching to walls.
Yes.
And I'm like,
shingling.
Yeah. And
I have one growing up the side of a cabinet right now.
Wow.
Meanwhile, none of my plants on moss poles have ever attached. But the one next to the kitchen cabinet is attached. And
Classic.
it's like plants are going to do what they do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You just got to give them a little bit of stress. Yes. Generally bad, but sometimes good.
So are most of your plants in Leca now in semi-hydro?
So, okay, so this is the crazy thing. So I don't know if you guys remember the 2-bedroom apartment that I had in Brooklyn before I moved from New York. And this is crazy, for 48 hours straight with 4 people helping me, packed every single plant, removed it from the soil, took the soil off the roots, put it in moss because you can't bring plants in soil, things like that. So I did that for 48 hours straight for those 500 plants. Maybe 90 of them survived.
Oh, wow.
So every single plant that I see now that I'm like, I've had that and it died. I had 3 caramel marbles, non-TC.
None of them survived?
So here's the thing, and my aunt is laughing because my aunt, every time something was getting sad, I would just throw it at her. My aunt has so many caramel marbles.
Really?
Alba monsteras. She has everything is growing. But that's what I did. I took insurance. I would just cut everything and just give a piece to everybody.
Smart.
So now
Very smart.
actually now that I'm in New York, I have some friends that are like, oh yeah, I have some of that aurea that you cut, or this anthurium, this old dock block, OG F2 dock block. I'm so glad and that was my thing too, is I was getting stressed where I was like, I don't know if I can take care of this. I was just giving plants to everybody. I remember the last 2 months before I left, every week, because I had the Facebook plant group and the Etsy and all of that, every week I would sell maybe 100 plants, and every week I would give away maybe another 100 plants.
Wow.
That's how many, because I had cuttings on cuttings.
Well,
on
that's
cuttings.
because you have a lot of plants. I don't really have a lot of plants.
I had a straight up jungle.
I don't have that many
You had a
plants.
You have a lot of plants, Kamili. And you have a lot of cuttings.
Yes.
You both, I was saying when I was walking around, I don't have cuttings the way you girls have cut. You have bowls of water with plants in every corner of your house.
That's really good for humidity. Everything.
It's great. No, I fully support it. You're frankly inspiring me. I'm going to go home and start doing this.
Put a few fish tanks around when you're changing that water.
In every medium. There's some in water, some in perlite, some in pond, some in moss.
Well, that's what makes it fun, is to experiment.
That's what makes it fun. It's I've had some epic failures. I've had entire trays of nodes just rocked. But I'm like, all right.
Right.
I just shrugged my shoulders and I'm like, okay.
I got nodes, let me tell you.
So let's not try that again.
I got nodes in different area codes.
Yes.
That is literally my list.
I have found that nodes do their thing in perlite. They do their thing.
Yeah, you just showed us those pink princess.
Forget about moss. I've had much better success in perlite.
Can we get a little bit? I'm gonna say something that's a little bit, maybe a little. So let me talk about this. So as a fish mom, so y'all remember fluval stratum?
Yeah, everybody's talking about fluval stratum these days.
10 years ago, I'm like, yo, it's $5. I'm putting this, I'm growing this moss, I'm growing the fish. I cannot get some fluval stratum for my fish, y'all.
Everybody likes the fluval stratum.
People, they're now like $50. I can't find it. And I'm like, I'm out here just trying to give my little guppies a home.
How many fish do you have?
Well, right now I don't. I had to give the fish away.
Oh, you did?
Oh my God.
I gave them to my assistant, but I had this Madagascar leaf lace. But I actually, when I was in LA, I was looking for fluval at pet stores, and I was like, where?
And you can't get it, yeah.
And
every influencer, online. I feel like on Instagram,
we do have a tendency to go really
we're really
hard in the
dive in,
hard in the paint,
in the paint.
That was me when not even Lekka, but I want to say when.
One time, remember one time you couldn't even get sphagnum moss?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
we do not do anything half speed.
Where's
plant parents? It's we are balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Full send. Yeah. What's the craziest plant experiment you've done? Growing something in something weird. Have you ever done any of those weird things?
When silver ladies were first showing up in the United States, a few years ago, I was like, how fast can I take insurance and cuttings? I threw them into my fish tank. So
nodes underwater?
Full nodes underwater.
Oh.
And I was full nodes underwater with a leaf on top, just holding on for dear life. Being like, oh my God, save me. Like Titanic. But I remember everybody that bought that plant for me in 2017, 2018, they're like, this grows so fast. And I'm like, it's fish.
It's the fish.
Yeah.
and then there was this whole thing where I remember a lot of people were like, I don't like Super Thrive. I don't like Super. And I'm like, that's kelp. That's the smell is natural.
I'm going to tell you something that I don't know if I've shared with a lot of other people, but we're doing this after dark.
After dark.
I love the smell of Super Thrive.
Oh my God.
It's a weird smell and I like it.
It's stinky.
It's organic.
Sometimes I spray it around the house and my boyfriend comes in and he's like, what the?
Now, neem.
I hate neem.
Never.
I hate neem. There's something on. I know everyone's like, oh, it's natural. It's like, no.
It smells
There's
so
something-
bad.
I don't really use neem.
It doesn't work. Does it work?
It does work. It does. You don't
It's
think
like-
it works?
Do you use it
If
as
you
leaf shine or as
lather
pest
it-
control?
I use it mostly like if I see mealybugs, I'll do the alcohol first. And then afterwards, I will give the plant a really good neem
Scrubbing.
dousing, you know?
Oh, speaking
So
of,
you like that stanky stank, and you like
I
that
know.
neem.
That stanky.
Girl, Camellia after dark,
I-
y'all.
Camellia
She
after
like-
dark, y'all.
It does give the plants a nice shine.
It does.
yes, it does.
lovely. It's lovely.
Another thing about Kamili I love is I walked in, she was giving us a tour of her house, and there's so many plants in her bathtub right now.
Oh my God, yes, BTS.
There were so many plants in your
BTS.
bathtub. That made me so happy. I was like, that's the sign of a true plant parent.
It's like nobody's taking baths. They're
No.
getting their
The
they're
plants-
going in the shower.
That's the bathtub
so
for
it's
the
like,
plants. Yeah.
The
I love
bathtub is for the
that.
plants.
That
What are-
yeah.
What are other signs to you that are like, this is a plant parent? Like soil in the sink.
Let's talk about this. So all of us.
But wait, Agatha, you said when you got here, you were like, "Do you have a dog?"
Oh my God, yes. Kamali's like obviously a gem, amazing host. She's like, what do you need? What you want? Water? She's like, I was like, yeah. She's like, lemonade. I sit down. She give me popcorn, lemonade, cheese. I'm lactose intolerant. I'll take it. I don't care. I'm at the top
Tell me
floor.
that.
No, I'm like, and I look over and I'm like, oh, you got me a salad. I lift the salad up. They're donkey's tails. Like they're burros, donkey's tail. And I look down and I'm like, oh, you got a dog? Where's the dog at? I don't have my glasses on. I'm a little bit delirious. It's a literal water tray for the bottom of
fell
a
off the table.
freaking. It fell, and I just thought there was a dog that was
And
going to come up
there's
and
like,
eat his
There's like
snack.
plant paraphernalia everywhere.
Everywhere.
And I'm just
Everywhere.
like,
I love
where's
it.
the dog at? And I'm over here looking at this mini couch. I'm like, that's a dog couch.
Right.
What's going on?
Right.
Dude,
Where's the dog?
Camellia after dark.
And I was like,
She
damn.
like smells
Is she
things.
like having an allergic reaction somewhere?
Right.
Then I was like, oh no, that goes to my plants.
And I was like, what are you
That's
talking
so funny.
about? And it was amazing because I was like, this is my people.
Yeah.
'Cause
100%.
that's exactly how my house looks. My house
And like
is,
watering cans and like pump sprayers everywhere. You have
Everywhere.
everywhere.
or
Where?
for me, potting tarps everywhere. Everywhere
Yeah.
I might want to sit and just undo a plant real quick and just like toss it up.
Well, I'm so horribly messy. My potting is all relegated to the basement. I'm not allowed to pot anywhere
Okay.
else. No, I have destroyed areas
Yeah.
repotting.
Me too.
And that's what I love about the springtime because I can just do it outside.
So nice.
During the winter, I can only do it in the basement. I won't swear too much.
oh man,
I really I go to town. Like
Yeah.
it's awful.
I remember when I lived in 500 square feet in New York City, like I would have to like give my husband advance notice being like the kitchen, like I need the
Oh my
kitchen for 2 hours.
God.
It's going to be a disaster.
I
need you to not think about it. Like I need you to not look and just know that by 10 p.m. tonight, like it's going to be
Yeah.
returned back. But it would look insane.
That's a New York thing, though.
Yeah. I'm into these pump sprayers now. I had never had one before, but I'm into this like pump sprayer with
Yeah.
the hose. It really makes watering a
it's
lot
nice.
easier.
Yeah, I like the pump sprayer.
How accurate is the spraying?
You have to get the one that you can turn so the nozzle gets like you can close or open the width of the spray because sometimes the spray is too wide and then it's going to go all over the place.
I saw a girl like a few years ago that she was using that, and then her entire apartment like molded.
Yeah, I can only use that in
And
the
so I was, like,
summertime when
I was a
everything's
little bit,
outside.
like-
You use it during the winter?
Yeah, but only if
Really?
it has a direct stream of water. Not like a mister, like a direct stream of
Okay.
water that you're putting in the soil.
Okay.
Huh.
A little bit more
Huh.
direct. Okay.
Huh.
I don't know about
could
you,
try
but I
that
love
out.
just taking calls on video, turning off the video, and just watering my plants.
too.
around.
Oh my God, that is
That's the only way
hilarious.
that
Yeah.
they're like, how do you water all your plants? I was like, because I water
the phone.
constantly.
Yeah.
I water, yeah.
You can look at it and know.
That's another
it's-
way that it has changed. Like in the beginning, I had a watering day.
There's no such thing.
It's watering month
Yeah.
because somebody
Every day is watering
every
day.
day is watering day. Somebody is getting
Mhm.
watered.
Totally.
And I don't know how I
After
even
dark.
remember.
After dark.
Like, I would not be surprised if they find out years from now that collecting houseplants, large numbers of them,
Mhm.
aids in one's not developing Alzheimer's because I don't know how I remember who got what when, but I do.
You can look at them. You can look and see, and you know.
I know. Like I have a mental
and you're up on your feet moving around. You have dexterity. You've got to angle, to water and not miss the pot.
Yes.
There's some coordination.
Yes. And like the brain is always like that memory function is always being memory muscle always being stimulated. Yeah.
Another reason
to
have
collect plants.
To collect plants.
To collect plants.
Collect them.
Okay. I think we covered a lot. Oh, we're all authors. We're all authors.
Yes.
Holy moly cannoli. Who knew?
Who knew?
We're celebrating Agatha's book launch at New York Botanical Garden tomorrow. So Agatha, tell us about your book.
So the book is called Houseplant Hookups.
Yes.
Speaking about after hours.
After hours. So this was a book in the making, actually, when I was still in New York on the way to California. There was a little bit of a delay because of the accident and the healing. But Houseplant Hookups, initially, what it was supposed to be about was, at this time, I was leaving New York, going to LA. I was rediscovering myself. I was like, I don't need to be this person that everyone thinks I am. I have to prioritize myself, this and that. And I was like, I'm going to do that through the prioritization of what I want to care about. And although the name Houseplant Hookups, obviously, well, you can take whatever you want from that. The core message of the book is actually prioritizing your needs and that you as a person or a plant person should prioritize things that work well in your environment instead of prioritizing things that won't work for you. Because I hate when people are like, I'm not a plant person. I don't have a green thumb. And I'm like, it's because you're trying to make that thing work for you.
It's because you're trying to care for ferns.
Exactly.
And I want you to prioritize yourself. And in return, when you do that, you will grow.
Right.
But that's the underlying main reason. When I first started writing it, I was like, I'm hoeing. I'm single. I'm going across hoes in different area codes. You know what I mean? And I was like, every time I would think about a plant and like this person I dated and how it reminds me of them. But again, my main reason for collecting houseplants and wanting to do that is I love the accessibility and making it. So I wanted something that was like funny, but I wanted it to be kind of like my own spin on things. And I had a hard time because I've had people go, hey, do you want to make a Houseplant 101 book? And I was like, Houseplant 101, water, sunlight.
Yeah.
And then I remember
you're
being
so
like,
past 101, I feel like.
And it's not that I'm like better or anything or anyone, but to me, I'm like, I don't know how to talk about a one-to-one.
You're growing in fluval stratum. You're growing in, that's not 101, you know?
It's just more so of like, I can't, it's an art to me, not a science.
Right.
I can't tell you what I'm doing.
Right.
I just can look at it and be like, that needs water, that needs that.
Exactly.
So that was my reason where I was like, I'm not a tactical plant parent. I am a more creative plant parent. I remember someone being like, well, what kind of book do you want to write? And I was like, well, what about the fact that all houseplants are mostly tropical plants that are all colonialized plants? Let's talk about the colonialism of plants. And it was like too deep at the time. This was pre-COVID. And they're like, what is wrong with this girl? And I'm like, I'm just trying to be real.
They're like, we'll take the Houseplant Hookups
book.
Thank you.
I'll take Houseplant Hookups for $200, please.
Exactly. But eventually, because the pandemic got really deep with us plant people.
Yeah.
So after that, I was like, I just want to do something funny. I want someone to look at it and be like, this is hilarious. And so when people ask me, what's Houseplant Hookups? And I'm like, depending on who you are and you're someone that might not be a plant person, I'm like, it's a plant reference guide as dating profiles. It's Tinder for plants.
So fun.
And like, that's
it's so
and
cute.
That's all I have to say, and you get it. And it's funny. You can make it serious. I've been in very serious relationships from Tinder. So you take it as what it is, right? It's like you make it what you want it to be, but it starts with being happy, being humorous, being fun.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted to start there because, I mean, yeah, sure, I'm a deep person. It happens. But I'm like also very much fun loving. And I was like, how do I do that first?
Yeah.
You know? So I'm like,
it's the faces for me. Y'all are listening, but you can't see
her faces.
The facial expressions
So that's what the book is about. But it's really a love letter to like all the plant people I dedicate it to the quote unquote NYC plant community because that's really where it started.
That's where it started.
Plants are my life, but
That's
it wasn't
where it started.
a community until I was in New York.
It was like the proof of concept almost.
Exactly.
I feel like we were like the
Yeah.
As we've talked about houseplant hookups, so please, Kamili, tell
Happy
us about
plants,
your book.
Happy You.
Happy Plants, Happy You.
Which is not only a guide for growing your plants, it's also a guide for growing yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, baby.
But I one of my favorite
Dare I say growing joy?
Growing joy.
With yourself.
Like that is the running
the
thing.
through line.
That is the through line. And it's like that is what really connects, I think, all of us to plants, is at first you think of it as this like hobby. And then you immediately learn it is so much more.
Yeah.
You know, and it really is this like pathway that can just open up all these incredible things. And for me, the message I really wanted, and I say it in the book too, is like what plants help me do is save something for myself. As a wife and a mother and a woman and a caregiver, like it's in my nature, I'm not going to say in all of our, me, myself, I'm a natural caregiver and I'm always taking care of everyone and everything, but I wasn't always necessarily taking care of myself. So one of the things that I really stressed upon in the book was it's okay to put yourself first, to put yourself on your to-do list. Self-care is not selfish. It's like it's rule number one. And it sounds like cliche, but the better you are to yourself, the better you can do for other people. And I think that we as women have been very much conditioned just to like perceive that as not what we should do. You know, we should be thinking of others. We should be caring for others. That is selfish. That is self-serving. And it's like, that is ridiculous because I don't think there's a man walking the face of this earth who don't take time for himself and gives it even a second thought.
The irony of that too is like the time that you take for yourself and your self-care is caring for plants.
Right.
There's even irony in that. But it's so true. It's so true.
But it's like it's quiet time though. It's when you're unplugged.
Restorative.
And I feel good caring for these
it's meditative
tropical plants. Right. I talk about ambulatory meditation. I can't sit still and meditate, but I can move around and touch my plants and focus on that. And it really does quiet my mind. It does quiet the chatter, right?
100%.
And even though it's a task, but it doesn't feel burdensome.
Yeah.
Like it's something I'm doing. It's just my pleasure. It's not guilty. I'm doing this for me. It's not attached to anything else.
It's life-giving. It's not life-draining.
Exactly. Yeah. That is very perfectly put.
Hashtag life.
Yes. Hashtag
life-giving, not life.
Yes.
Great.
I love that.
You're like Kamili's next book. Where can everyone find both of you? You're such wonderful women. I feel so privileged to call you ladies my friends that I get to text and have sleepovers with matching pajamas with. Right. But where can everyone connect with you online?
I know. This is so wild.
I know.
You can find me across all the platforms.
You name a
blurred. It's like, I don't think there's one that I'm not on.
I was going to say, you name a platform, Kamili's on it.
It's like I'm a little more active on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, but I mean Pinterest. You can literally, I'm there.
You find her.
You can find me.
I'm literally on one platform because that's the most that my brain can do, and it's Instagram, and I can't even do that well.
Agatha, remember when we did a Clubhouse together and then we never went on Clubhouse again?
Oh my God.
We like made a Clubhouse room and then neither of us ever went on Clubhouse ever again.
I really miss those Clubhouse days.
I
know.
It was so stressful.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? I just really liked it because I felt like I didn't have to curate a visual. I could just say what I wanted to say, and that was okay.
Well, you know what's funny? That's why I like, and I deleted X from my phone like 100 years ago. I don't even have that thing on my phone. But I think that's kind of like why I like Threads. And Threads is really funny because sometimes I'm literally just talking to myself. And it's like, I just need to get this thought out of my head.
Yeah.
And I'm typing on Threads. But it's like,
I had a moment where right now, and I'm dabbling in it, where I'm trying to minimize the online presence and really be grounded and be in person. And that's mostly because literally I had
You're juggling a lot right now.
I'm juggling a lot, but I had a literal near-death experience where I'm like, let me just be grounded in where I am. So my biggest passion right now is like in-person versions of plant community. So whether it's like workshops, it's markets.
So where can people find that in California?
They can find us. We're out here in Long Beach in LA. We just launched our first in-person store.
And who is we?
Plant Ma Shop. We is just me, myself, and
Plant Ma Shop. So if they want to go find you, where should they
go?
So
we is Google, you and the multiple personalities that
I have. Yes.
I love that.
And all your plants.
I love that.
I mean, Kamili and
I got them too. I got 100 people in my head.
Me three.
I got my corporate version.
Yes,
I got my plant version.
I also refer to myself as we. Well, who's the we?
Me, myself, and I.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Instagram is going to be the main place for the socials. Yeah. AgathaIsabel.com is the main thing, but I'm doing what I was calling the broken leg book tour, which is which I do now a stop once every like 2-3 months around the United States. But it's fun though, because I lived in DC, lived in New York.
And then you get
Miami,
to drop in and enjoy it.
And just see the people hang. And then also at the same time, like maybe write a little bit of something for something else, for inspiration. But it's just to be with me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
And my multiple personalities. But find us. But the one thing I'll say is, if you want to just connect, we'll find each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's happened to me a lot. There are people that I've not talked to in like a few years. And when I started emerging from my literal rock that I was under, it's like happening. All the things that I thought about years ago. Yeah. And I'm just happy for that. So I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful you're here. I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful to be alive.
Literally.
For real.
Literally walking.
Knock on something.
Yeah. There's something holding my bones together.
Yes.
That's
Agreed.
That's life.
Well, I'm thankful for you ladies. I'm thankful for this episode. Let us know, sweet listeners, if you like this after hours special. Maybe I can convince them to do another.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It's midnight now.
Oh my God, is it? Oh my God, it's so close.
It's like an hour and change.
Okay, yeah, we're about to turn into pumpkins.
Well, all right, everybody. Keep growing joy.
Keep growing joy. Oh my God.
All right, love you all.
Good night.
Adios.
Keep growing.
Time to put these pajamas to use. All right, everyone, and that's our show. Go follow Kamili at Plant Blurred and Agatha at Agatha Isabel on Instagram. They're so fun. Let me know if you like this style of episode. I'd be happy to have them back on for more conversational style episodes. Or if there are other influencers, plant-fluencers per se, that you would like me to have more like conversational style episodes like this, let me know. I'm here for you. You can always email me at Maria@growingjoywithmaria. But with this episode, like all the episodes on the podcast, I hope that it made you giggle and helps you keep growing joy. Plant friend, thank you for tuning in today. It means so much to me that I get to be part of your planty journey. If you like what you heard, make sure you're subscribed to the show so you never miss an episode. We have so many incredible interviews and solo episodes on incredible houseplant and gardening topics that you will not want to miss this year. And while you're over there in the podcast player subscribing, why don't you click over to the review section of Growing Joy with Plants and leave us a review. Reviews are tremendously helpful for the growth of the podcast, so thanks in advance. If you're looking for more opportunities to grow as a plant parent with Growing Joy content, we've got so many options for you. First, I highly recommend you taking the Plant Parent Personality Test. It's free, it's super fun, it takes 3 minutes to complete. At the end of the test, you're gonna get your plant parent personality profile and a curated list of plants, projects, and podcast episodes that are right up your alley, tailored just for you and your lifestyle, inspired by your results. The links are in the show notes. If you're looking to uplevel your plant parent game, I have so many free downloads on my website that I think could help you, like the Understanding Natural Light download or 9 different ways to green up your office space. If you'd like to support the show monetarily and help me bring the show to as many people as possible for free, you can head to our Patreon link in the show notes to learn more about our offerings. And finally, I invite you to come hang out with me and continue the planty conversation on social media on Instagram and TikTok. I'm Growing Joy with Maria. My DMs are always open if you have requests for topics or ideas for the show. Thank you again for listening. It is truly my honor and delight to help you keep blooming and keep growing joy.